Let's talk about the bullish case for Ethereum. Of course, we talk about Ethereum pretty regularly on the channel, but we talk about Bitcoin a lot more. So today I want to go through why Ethereum might do really well over the coming year. We'll show you some interesting charts, some interesting info that you should know if you're an Ethereum investor or looking at Ethereum, or even if you're like, hey, I want to confirm I don't want any Ethereum. We're going to be going through some of the pros and cons of buying Ethereum right now, some of the big news that's happened even in the last 24 hours, why we could see more pumping in the future. Tom Lee actually talked about his Ethereum company, his Ethereum treasury company, and why they're picking it over something like Bitcoin, and why he likes this model. And I guarantee you're going to learn something that you don't already know. So if you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this. Also, if you want access to these videos early, I have been publishing these or pushing them out in Telegram early. We have about 750 people in there. It's completely free, and it's just a channel where I push videos out to you guys or give you guys extra information. You can check that out. It's the third link down in the description, second in the comment. And if you want to trade Ethereum, there are links underneath the video. I really like trading altcoins. ETH is one of my bigger altcoin bags, but I'm very heavy Bitcoin. Where I try to get extra exposure is through leverage trades. I have trades that have been open for a while, and I continue to add to these because I find as time goes on, this is so much easier than buying a bunch of small caps and trying to track them and trying to get in and out at the perfect time. I already know what Ethereum, ADA, XRP, Solana, Bitcoin are doing, so I'd rather do a little bit of extra risk through leverage. And I actually have some videos where I described how I leverage trade recently. We've been able to make so much money, especially this last week with altcoins going up. Check out the link to BYDeFi underneath the video. They have a special bonus going on right now. If we get a lot of people too that like Ethereum or want more videos like this, we can switch this up. We have a trade and earn $10,000 worth of Bitcoin free bonus right now. But if you guys really like Ethereum, we can switch this for the next competition. We're going to do XRP, but let me know if you'd rather have Ethereum. So let's get started. Obviously, there are people that still do not believe in Bitcoin. Congressman, Bitcoin or Ethereum or crypto in general. Congressman Brad Sherman says crypto creates the perfect financial tool for drug dealers and tax evaders. This shows that we're still, I don't want to say early, but we're still early, right? Like there are still people that have no idea what crypto is, or that blockchain does the opposite of this now. Like sure, you can send money without a third party, but if you want to get money out, it's very difficult to get it out without someone noticing you. And of course, we do have to hit on the ETFs. Bitcoin kind of leading the way in terms of fund flows, but the Ethereum ETFs have been surprising a lot of people. Ether reported a $500 million inflow day yesterday. That's the Bitcoin, that's a BlackRock Ethereum ETF. And overall, they saw $720 million in inflows. This is crazy. This is a large reason why I think Ethereum is moving up right now. $1.8 billion in new money over the last 5 trading days. It's accelerating. We're also seeing ETH treasury companies. I'll play this for you. Tom Lee obviously is someone that a lot of people respect in traditional markets. And when he does something, people pay attention. He's been very bullish the last few years when there have been a lot of bears saying that the market was going to go down. He's been saying, no, I think you should be buying this dip. You should be buying big tech. Bitcoin looks like it's poised for a breakout. And what do you know? And he actually talked about Bitcoin years ago when Bitcoin was in the 4-figure range, when it was under $10,000, and people basically laughed him out of the room. Now who's laughing? He goes on to talk about why he's actually working at a Ethereum treasury company and why Ethereum over Bitcoin, and he answers some other questions too. Let me play this for you real quick.
Well, to me, I think treasury companies make a lot of sense. The idea of Ethereum as a treasury company, using that as like the treasury asset, also makes a lot of sense. The reason Ethereum, is attractive, in my opinion, is that it is the layer 1 blockchain where real world assets are becoming tokenized, and we know that at least the most, most of the real world assets have been tokenized. But the big mega trend in the past year, I mean, the real viral app and maybe what I call the chat GPT.
And I apologize for that like clicking sound. That's something in the video, something one of the two interviewers or interviewees was making, not me.
Moment for crypto has been stablecoins. It's been enormously popular with consumers and with merchants and now banks. It's a good business model for banks, but it's a great deal for consumers because it's a lower way to actually pay for things, and it's secure because it's a blockchain. And for merchants, they don't have to deal with expense fees on a credit card network or a debit network, much lower fees. And then there's no chargeback risk, which can run, 5 to 6%, maybe, higher for some categories. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's it's definitely different in terms of an ETH treasury company versus a Bitcoin treasury company, and I think usage is certainly one of those things that makes it different. Transactions, which we want to get into, I think just from a higher level too, because I know some of the audience might be more macro, maybe less crypto. Who knows? Some people might be saying, why ETH over Bitcoin, Tom? When it comes to, I think the hard cap of Bitcoin's 21 million. You're talking about usage. Some people might know that it's actually less inflationary if you look at it over the last 2 years plus since the merge. Ethereum less inflationary as we look at that chart. But how do you kind of push back on that to people who are saying, oh, Ethereum doesn't have a cap? Why would a treasury company like this make sense? I mean, it sounds like you were just touching on a little bit with transactions, but I'll let you finish kind of that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let me go into why ETH as a treasury is attractive. Now, I like the Bitcoin treasury model. MicroStrategy is really the blue chip of that, and MicroStrategy is a granny shot ETF in the granny shot ETF, and because it's big enough now to be included on the major indices like the Nasdaq 100. But what makes MicroStrategy attractive is that he's accumulated enough Bitcoin. He's accumulated almost 600,000. That is so much Bitcoin that he has what I call a sovereign put, meaning if the US government ever wants to create a Bitcoin reserve, well, they can either try to buy 1 million Bitcoin in the open market, or they'll buy MicroStrategy at a huge premium. So there's no way MicroStrategy should ever trade at net asset value. And then because of the volatility of Bitcoin, MicroStrategy in turn can use the capital markets to raise money at much reduced cost. Like if he held Bitcoin, it'd be very expensive for him to borrow money to buy more Bitcoin. So if you own MicroStrategy, he's working to give you more Bitcoin per share every day, and actually at an efficient cost. So over time, you're owning more Bitcoin, so you benefit from the Bitcoin going up, plus he's getting you more Bitcoin per share. Now, the ETH treasury models, and there aren't that many. There's a couple out there, including the one that was announced yesterday. There's a bit of an advantage of a Ethereum treasury company if you directly compared it to a Bitcoin treasury. Mm-hmm. One is that there is a yield you can earn on Ethereum by staking. So you actually can grow your Ethereum per share from that income activity. The second is that Ethereum's delivered volatility, so it's a measure of how much it moves, is actually twice that of Bitcoin. So in theory, if someone had looked at it as like a capital markets access, like following MicroStrategy's model of trying to earn more crypto per share, well, Ethereum's volatility actually makes it cheaper to fund purchases. So because the higher the volatility you have, the more you can sell volatility and then lower your cost of borrowing. And the third is, of course, that because it's a staking token, a treasury company actually can also act as an operating business on the network itself. And that's important because that ties back to something I'm originally thinking about, which is that as more things in the financial world and real world become tokenized, then financial institutions like Goldman and JP Morgan and Amazon, Walmart, as they do stablecoins, are also going to want to stake Ethereum itself. So we're essentially doing the underlying architecture of what other businesses will actually do. So we're essentially getting in front of what other businesses will do.
Now that's really interesting to think about the staking component of that you can get a yield, you can get more Ethereum. Of course, that naturally makes it more inflationary, but if overall the network is deflationary, or let's say it's at 1% or 0 and you're getting 3%, you're getting more than the inflation rate. So you're gaining against Ethereum, which is kind of crazy. Imagine all of a sudden MicroStrategy was doing the same thing. Like they could acquire so much more Bitcoin. It's really interesting to think about. So I think as Tom Lee goes on more more financial shows, explains his thoughts on the Ethereum treasury strategy, I'm sure people will get a little bit more bullish, especially as the price goes up for Ethereum. I think people will get more bullish. There will be more Ethereum strategies that come out, or more Ethereum treasuries. That mixed with these large inflows and the possibility of staking as well from the ETFs, that's going to be insane. People are going to be very interested in Ethereum at that point. We're seeing record inflows already. Ethereum is bouncing off of its downtrend line. You can see it kind of double bottomed, the same place it did back in 2019. And we started to break out pretty soon after this happened. We broke back into this trend, and we're breaking to new highs. We have not been at this level on an ETH versus BTC chart since February. So, we are making progress, but you're still down a lot versus Bitcoin. So to be clear, I'm very heavy in Bitcoin versus Ethereum. But if we just get back, halfway up this trend line, that means that ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin by 100%. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen by any means, but I'm just saying if we see a little bit more outperformance, right? If we just see more like what's been normal, right? Even the lowest point between 2021 and 2024, the lowest point we got to would still be nearly 100% outperformance from Ethereum right now. So if we get into a time of higher money printing, more Ethereum treasuries, the market turns more risk on, which, to be clear, like we are somewhat risk on right now. We just hit new all-time highs for total crypto market cap, but with deflationary Ethereum, with more excitement in the market, with a slightly higher risk than we were at before. This is into the cryptoverse. It measures different like price risks for cryptocurrencies. You can see like we're moving up a little bit in terms of risk, but Ethereum generally is in this risk band right now. So this shows you the time spent in different risk bands. We're usually right in here, which is where we are right now, 0.5 to 0.7 risk. So we are on the slightly higher end for Ethereum in terms of how quickly we've moved up. And of course, it takes a lot of factors into account here. But we have moved up in risk a little bit with this big move recently. But yeah, this could be pretty explosive, I think, especially with just like a 0.8% inflation rate over the last basically 4 years. It's not like there's a lot of extra ETH coming to the market. So you get these ETFs that are buying $500 million like in a day. And we also see the Ethereum treasury strategy companies. That's going to push up the price. Keep in mind, $500 million going into Ethereum is super significant compared to $500 million going into Bitcoin. Like this is 1/1000th of all Ethereum being bought up in a day. Like $500,000 or $500 million going into Ethereum, which actually was more than that. It was 700. It was 700 million. That's the equivalent of like 3.5 billion almost going into Bitcoin. So it's extremely bullish. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Let me know if you're buying Ethereum right now. I to be clear, I'm not buying Ethereum any more than I have right now, but I'm sitting on my Ethereum and I have been trading Ethereum along with altcoins. If you want to trade, there are links underneath the video to BYDeFi. I've explained recently in videos that like you don't even have to get a perfect buying in price with what I do in leverage trading. A lot of what I do is 3, 4, 5x leverage trades. And because of that, let's say we do a 3x trade on Ethereum right now. Even if we were wrong and we went down, we would have to go down to 2,300, maybe even slightly below that for me to get liquidated on 3x. And I could also add more leverage as well. So that would take us down 33%. I could add more margin. Sorry, I think I said add more leverage, but I could add more margin and bring down my liquidation price even further. So I feel pretty good about that. That's one of the reasons I like leverage. You can trade breakouts without trading perfectly, assuming you're not going 100x leverage. Of course, you could always put a stop loss or something like that too. But that's one of the reasons I like leverage as opposed to trying to go buy spot some like small cryptocurrency or even like this, right? If you're buying Ethereum, maybe we get up to $10,000. Great. You make it 3x on your money. You get like 200% profit. If you go open up a 3x long position, you make 3 times that. So yeah, if you want to check this out, there are links underneath the video. Of course, I don't think it's too late to buy spot, of course. But yeah, if you're expecting like a 10x from Ethereum this cycle, I think you're wrong. I could always be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong down below in the comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you all soon. Bye.